Okay. We'll call this meeting to order of the Tree Advisory Commission meeting the 6th of March at 4 p.m. We'll begin with, I welcome everybody that's here. And we'll start with everybody introducing themselves, starting over with.
All right. Joe Sad, City Engineer Advisor.
Miriam Hoffman.
Lee Knopf.
I'm Paul Eglund.
Jordy Veit.
Joey Schugel, Park and Recreation Director.
Jeff Huffman, Public Works Superintendent.
Okay. I'm glad everybody could make it. Has everybody, let's see, has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? And do I hear a motion to approve it as recorded? Or do you want to make corrections or additions?
I make a motion to approve it as recorded.
Lee?
Approve it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as written. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. It's approved. Okay. Following is the minutes for the meeting of 2 January 2025. Has everybody had a chance to review that in your notes that were emailed to you? Okay, do I hear a motion for, or do I hear a request for corrections or additions? Lacking that, maybe approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Tree Commission meeting from January 2nd, 2025.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that the minutes for the previous meeting be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. They are approved. Okay, moving on. Old business. Joe,
All right.
you wanna review that?
Yep. Mr. Vice Chair, Commission members, going through the 2025 Tree Advisory Commission budget and where we're at with reimbursements to date. We have had 22 tree removal reimbursements come into our office. So we have sent out $1,053.50 in reimbursements. And to date, we are carrying over $1,823.08 worth of expenditures that would be available after July 1st for those, for remaining funds. That's it for the year so far. I know home show, it just hasn't gone through our accounting system yet, so that'll be deducted out of the next report you see in a couple months. But otherwise, fairly slow, but I would anticipate reimbursement requests for removals to pick up here in the next month.
Okay. Do we move that they be approved, or we'll just moving on next to the next point?
Yeah, you can just move on, yep.
Yeah, just move on to the.
Moving on.
Sure.
Next report, Park and Recreation Department update. Joey?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners. A couple big things going on in the parks right now related to our tree inventory. We did award a RFP that I talked about at the last meeting for some large ash removals in parks. The bid went to Mankato Landshapes, and they have started work and completed work in South and Nels Parks, if you've been near there. Now with the snow this week, I anticipate next week first for the additional removals. You'll see Washington Park be highly impacted by the next removals, and a few miscellaneous trees, one in German Park coming yet too. So, but that process has been going good. They will also come back and stump grind those that they've removed as well. So, other items going on. So our staff has removed, has done trimming over the winter, has done some removals as well, mostly ash removals of the trees that we could hit. We hit some interior trees in Washington Park with our staff that weren't as large, and our street department. And maybe Jeff's going to touch on this a little more. Has been removing those stumps in our parks as well. Any questions on any of that?
Okay. And that, we'll move on to the next point. Public Works. Jeff.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Councilors. Yeah, as of so far in the past year, we've carved out about 400 and some stumps here now and filled. And we only have a few left on the list. We did quite a few for the park and rec in the parks and stuff. So we only have a few left on the list for in town on the boulevards. So hopefully if the weather straightens out next week, we'll get back on those and get those done before we get busy with our summer projects. And then in the cemetery, we took down 6 large trees in January here. We took down some pretty big, significant ash trees that were dead. So those are pretty much all the ash trees are pretty much out of the cemetery. I think they only have a couple small ones left. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Okay. Is Tony here for a private tree services update? I don't believe so.
No update.
So moving on to the next point. Joe, on Emerald Ash Borer update.
Mr. Vice Chair, Commission members, I have no updates for you this month. So it's here. And
The
continue to give
woodpeckers are
us-
working on the trees.
They are.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's good. Next item on the account is, on the agenda is the Big Tree Contest. We voted last meeting to have the ginkgo be the tree species this year. There are a lot of little ginkgo trees in New Ulm, and if it's less than an inch in diameter, we don't want to know about that to measure as a big tree. It should be big enough you can't put your hand around, probably. It will be spelled out in the handouts we're sending out. Submissions are due for the contest on the 31st of July this summer. So anybody interested in looking up a relatively big tree, it's not very big, but in New Ulm. I haven't seen one that's 4 foot in diameter or anything. If you've got one that's over a foot in diameter, it's pretty good sized. Okay, we got a whole list of the previous trees. And we got a draft of the description for the big tree contest. The only thing I would add, and I didn't make it known, was that the seed is actually considered edible if you treat it right. But we might not want to put it there because if you eat it when it hasn't been treated right, it will make you sick probably. So we didn't put it in print, and that's probably okay. Sure. The fact that the outer covering on the nut is bad smelling is pointed out in our description, which is reasonable. If you plant a seedling ginkgo, it won't make seed until it gets 20 or 30 years old. So anybody want to say anything else about the ginkgo handout? I was interested in it, so I read through it. Okay. In which case, we move on to the utility bill inserts, which have to do with, well, we just need them to get printed up soon because they have to be available for the show.
So, Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners, on this one, we will need some action to be taken.
That's
As there
Right.
are 2 options here. So in your packet, there are 2 options for the printouts that would go in both the April utility billing, but also be available at the home show for distribution. So in your packet, you see black and white print on colored paper as an option. And you see the price on that. So we're looking at 6,500 copies total, 6,200 going to insert, 300 for the home show. So that cost is $520. If we do white paper and color print on those 6,500 copies, the price is double. So
Yeah. I've had-
$1,040.
Has everybody had a chance to look at those in the package?
I'm looking at them now.
And we need to make a choice. Do we want to spend extra dollars for a color print of a ginkgo
Right.
seeds or the basically black and white edition on color paper?
And I will point out one more thing. If you do look back at our budget for 2025 here, both of these quotes on these printings are under budget.
They're under budget.
Yes.
Okay.
However, potentially, if there are savings in areas, those funds could be reallocated other places.
Is there any consensus on whether you want to have a white paper with a color print of a tree or, and fruit, tree leaves and fruit, or just the colored paper with black and on color paper?
You
So there
know,
wouldn't be-
I would lean toward the color print. It'll just make
The color,
I would agree.
the white paper with the
white
color
paper
print?
with the color print,
You pay extra for the color of the seed. Okay.
right. That's what I would lean. It just pops a little bit better.
Okay. How about you, Jordy?
Yeah, that's.
I got 3 to the remaining person on the committee here, so I hear that we approve the white paper with color print photo as approved. So we can take that to be our vote. Moving on to the next item, the home show. How is it? I heard that it is being set up by Joey and company, and we're not gonna participate in the setup. Is that what I heard? Or do you want us there to help you?
I'd be happy to get the setup going for everyone. So,
Okay.
yes, so the home show is Friday, March 28th and Saturday, March 29th. I believe we have a typo here. As you see on your agenda, Saturday, March 29, the show hours 4 to 8 p.m. Those hours are longer than that. I'm trying to look it up right now. It's more than 4 hours on Saturday, the home show. Maybe Joe can do that while as I'm talking. But commissioners, what we typically have done for the home show is we have 2 commissioners try to take a shift together, and we usually split that. So Friday, depending, sometimes is 1 shift, sometimes is 2 shifts, and Saturday is usually the one that's set up into 2 shifts because it's a longer. Do you have the hours, Joe?
Yeah, so on the 29th, so on Saturday, it is 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
So instead of 4 to 8 p.m., it's 9 to 4. So usually what we've done is a 9 to noon and then the 12 to 4, something around there. And what I'll do is I'll send out an email probably within the next week, breaking out shifts, and usually the commissioners work it out on what they can cover in their schedules if they're able to cover. And then materials are there to provide, and where it's a great time to promote what's going on and related to the Tree Advisory Council with especially the reimbursement program and the big tree contest this year is what you've decided to focus on this year.
Okay.
So,
Okay, we'll be looking at our email to get that worked out. The remaining next item is the new business. The first item is educational walking tours.
yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Commissioner, so I had individual send a request or an idea around someone that's closely associated with Tree Advisory Commissioner who had an idea and wanted to have this idea brought to a meeting. So the idea is, with the knowledge of tree-related knowledge and on this commission especially, if anyone was interested in offering neighborhood walks, so it'd maybe be an 8-block walk or a 2-block street or a square area in various areas of New Ulm. And during the walk, the commissioner would point out better ways to maintain trees, which trees would grow best, how to watch for disease, how often to water, just logistically, and point out real life, in scenarios in our community. So that idea was approached. This individual's involved with the League of Women Voters and brought it to them, and they said they'd be very interested to participate in the walks. But really, at this time, it's just kind of an idea, not asking for any action, but to see if there's any interest from commissioners to potentially set up a pilot program like this.
Jordy, will you be interested? I would be.
Yeah.
Lee,
Possibly.
possibly.
Yep.
Possibly, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. So,
So with that interest, would you like it to come back to a meeting and just to logistically, if this would be moving forward, to figure out some more details and parameters around that? Like marketing and promotion would have to come along with some of it so people know what's going on. And we wouldn't just expect them to watch our tree commission meetings. We'd have to do some additional promotion to get the word out. Time of year, when to do it, stuff like that.
probably want more than one person
Yeah.
on the walk with you,
Right.
and
Probably want
you probably don't want 25 or 30 or more. That
Right.
would be,
Yeah.
that would
So-
be rough too.
So what I would ask of commissioners, if you have a great idea on how to set up the program, to send me those ideas over email, and I can bring them to the next meeting and see
Okay.
if we can form some type of, whether it's one day or multiple days, or something like that.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
And that was a favorable response to that item. Commissioner reports. Jordy, did you have?
Yeah, just a little bit. I'll have more the next meeting as I get it organized, because I don't have it very well organized. But back to the Covered Up program. If you were wondering, there were several phases to it. The first phase was information that the U of M did on plots. The second phase is the one you're probably most familiar with. That's the one where I had the plot in town. There was plots around Minnesota. So some of that, I believe they are still working on data. But the original Cover Up, they are starting to release information with that. And they are finding some native flowering species and native grasses, along with some other management techniques, are fairly promising at holding back the buckthorn. So as what they have said as far as grasses, Canada wild rye, Virginia wild rye, and silky wild rye have the best outcome as far as if they're planted in the right environment, they can grow fast and help to shade out buckthorn, along with some follow-up. Some of the wildflowers that have been shown to work is the white snakeroot, bee balm, red columbine, Virginia wildlife, waterleaf, brown-eyed Susan, and figwort. And that's from their initial research with that. So they are finding that depending on the lighting that you have in the forested area, that definitely some of these native species come in, remove the buckthorn, immediately put these native species in, and then do some follow-up afterwards to help keep the buckthorn under control and kind of really help that revegetation process take place. So, like I say, I will probably put together some graphs on the New Ulm plot and then see what other deeper information there is in this. So if you have any questions or anything specific, let me know and I will try to find the answer for you.
Thank you, Jordy. Are there any other reports?
The only one other thing I can think of, Vice Chair, is the city of New Ulm, along with some volunteers, did some programming around National Invasive Species Week, that which was February 24th through the 28th, just recently. I don't know, you may have seen some information in the journal or online, so that some of those were around buckthorn, and some of the invasives we have, emerald ash borer, and trying to just bring awareness to that and try to pool resources together to inform our community and add some proactive measures to as we have that continued fight with invasive species.
Okay. The next meeting is scheduled for the 3rd of May, 2025, at 4 o'clock here at City Hall. And if there's, let's see, you're supposed to be reminded that you're supposed to send all your ideas to Danita at the Parks and Rec Department. If there's no other business, I declare this meeting adjourned.